Welcome to Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. My name is David Nolan, and I'm the Director of Communications at the American Academy of Actuaries. Today, we're in conversation with Rich Gibson, the Senior Casualty Fellow at the Academy. Rich, welcome. Rich Gibson, welcome to Actuary Voices. Thank you for joining us today. How we usually start these podcasts is a brief discussion about how and why you became an actuary. So what's your background and what was your path towards becoming an actuary?
Wow, that goes back a ways. Well, first, thanks for having me. It's interesting to do this. So it goes all the way back to high school. I had a math teacher in high school who suggested to me that being an actuary might be a good career for me. And interestingly enough, and if memory serves, he gave me a leaflet. I mean, today we'd call it a pamphlet and it'd be all in color and whatnot, but it was a black and white leaflet entitled Be an Actuary. And for some reason, I think that's an American Academy of Actuaries publication, or it was at the time, but I'm not positive about that. But that's what got me started thinking about it. And really, I was never good at very many things. Basically, I was good with numbers and I was good at golf, and that was about it. So I wasn't going to make money at golf, so I better do something with the math side of it.
Great. And were there many actuarial programs when you were looking, or did you do a math degree?
And so I did a math degree, and it's a good question. I think the actuarial programs tended to emerge several years later. I graduated from college in 1980, so I'm an old guy, obviously. And I just did a math degree from Miami University in Ohio.
And when you were at university, did you ace all your exams?
No. I did okay. I was a decent student, but I wasn't over the top crazy about it.
I hear you. I was the same when I was in college. And then you took exams with the society.
So the early exams were jointly administered. And the interesting thing is when I went to college, my advisor, was a professor in the math department, and he had been an actuary, and I had my first meeting with him, and I told him I was interested in being an actuary, and his first response to me was, well, where did you hear that word? It almost like he was trying to discourage me, and I shared that with him many years later when I went back to recruit young students graduating, and he got a kick out of that. But anyway, I actually started taking actuarial exams while I was in college, and managed to pass the first one before I graduated, which nowadays that's very common, that students come out with exams. Back then, somewhat less so.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because the Academy recently sponsored a few students who were aiming to attend an actuarial conference for students at Drake University. And the faculty we worked with placed an emphasis on those students who are applying for the bursary to ensure that they had already passed some exams, because that showed a commitment to the profession.
Right. Commitment and an ability to make progress. The actual exams are not trivial.
Right. Yes, that is something that every actuary I've ever spoken to has made that point.
Yeah. And there were plenty of times along the way that I wondered whether or not I'd have the perseverance to make it through. And I still wake up every now and then thinking I still have that last exam to do.
Oh yes, those dreams we have. And so you're a casualty actuary. So tell me, what made you choose that specialty?
Well, it was more fortuitous than anything. In my senior year of college, I had applied for a position with a company called Ohio State Life. And they didn't hire me, but they kept my resume on file. And interestingly enough, the HR director from that company spoke to an HR director for a P&C company, the first company I worked for, Motors Mutual, And they called me up and said, would you be interested in coming for an interview? I mean, so this was back at a time when, there weren't that many graduates that were interested in becoming actuaries. And it was a lot easier to find an entry level job. And they actually called me, and it was a PNC company, and they offered me a job. And I said, wow, I get to work for a living. This is okay. I'll do that.
You focused on the casualty area throughout your career?
You start going down one path. Well, I mean, there are actuaries who do more than one, but one practice area was enough for my small brain. So I stayed focused on the casualty property side throughout.
Did you move around the country for work, or did you stay?
I did. I moved around quite a lot. I lived in a number of places, worked for a number of companies. I started out in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm from Ohio originally, so that was a natural thing. And from there moved to Indianapolis, and frankly, I've lost track of all the steps along the way, but there have been a number of companies. There was plenty of opportunity along the way to advance your career and to do new and different things. So I took advantage of that.
Sure. Tell us about a couple of those.
Well, so first job, Motors Mutual Insurance, mid-sized personal lines mostly, although they do commercial too, but mostly personal lines company in Columbus, Ohio. Kind of got my start there, started progressing through actuarial exams. I moved to Indianapolis after that to American States Insurance, which has since been acquired and no longer exists as a standalone entity. Actually, after that, I think I went to Allstate for a brief period, and then back to Columbus, Ohio to work for Nationwide. And I stayed in Columbus for a good while. I had two more jobs, with the Nationwide job plus one with Farmers Insurance there in Columbus. And it goes on. There are a lot of different companies, and as the opportunities arose, like I said, I kind of moved in that direction.
Great, a wealth of experience then. Moving on to your role at the Academy, you're now the Senior Casualty Fellow at the American Academy of Actuaries. But did you have any experience volunteering at the Academy before you came on?
No, not really. I had some volunteer experience with the Casualty Actuarial Society on a limited basis, but no, not previously. And what led up to me joining the Academy was I had decided about the middle of 2017 to retire from corporate life. I got the notion that I wanted to retire. And at that point, I'm 37 years into my career and thinking there are other things I want to do. And I took a year off, and that was enough. and the Academy job came along, and I said, "Wow, I mean, that sounds terrific. It's a different kind of job than I've ever had before, but it's dealing with important issues. I'd like to be part of that." And fortunately, happily, the Academy decided to ask me to join.
Right. And what does your role entail at the Academy? What kind of work is in the day-to-day experience for you?
So, I mean, one of the things I like is it's pretty diverse. I mean, the property casualty side of things is diverse. So there's a lot of issues that we tackle. But if you try to put an umbrella over it, I mean, I think you'd first say that there's a public policy focus to the work we do. We try to monitor issues that are important to actuaries and important to the employers of actuaries. And offer an actuarial opinion, loosely termed, an actuarial voice, if you will, into these matters with public policymakers and regulators and that sort. The other dimension it's been just a terrific surprise somewhat, but working with all the volunteers at the Academy is just fantastic. The breadth of knowledge and dimension that these folks bring to the different issues and whatnot is just terrific. And I've had a great time working with all the different committees and committee members.
Yeah, I've been blown away by the amount of work that so many of our volunteers do. by definition on a voluntary basis to further our work.
It's hard to overstate how incredible that is.
Agreed. And what are the hot topics?
Wow.
Maybe climate might be in there.
So there's a lot of them, right? I mean, cyber insurance is a hot topic right now. Wildfire, to try to avoid the pun is a definite topic right now, and we've got subcommittees that are working on both of those issues. It's hard to overlook COVID, right? I don't think we're beyond the issue or beyond COVID, and it's going to continue to create challenges for actuaries and their employers.
Are there specific P&C aspects of COVID that you see looming?
Well, I mean, there's the issue that's been well discussed at this point. The business interruption insurance for commercial insurers is definitely an active topic, and there's lots to that issue. There's a lot of opinion around that. The industry, of course, believes that the coverage that they've provided doesn't cover it. In some cases, that's holding up, and in other cases, it's not. And those things are going to play out more on an individual basis. But if you back up and generalize it, the whole impact on how insurance is being done. I mean, auto insurance has had a tremendous change because of the decline in driving, because of the work from home. The settlement of claims, I think, is probably going to change, and it's tough to say how far it's going to go and what, to quantify the impact, but it's not hard to understand that the medical profession, the legal profession, who are actively involved in settling claims, are finding different ways to work, and it's changing the pace of play in some cases. Telemedicine is another example of something that's going to impact how the claim data comes through, and actuaries are going to have to be on the lookout for how does this change my opinion of the reserves or the price or that sort of thing that actuaries do.
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, sure. One of the big areas of work that the Academy is involved in is around professionalism and ethical dilemmas and pressures that are placed on actuaries in the course of their day-to-day work. Do you have any experiences of ethical dilemmas or professional conundrums that you've come across over your career?
Well, I'll start by saying first that what we actuaries do, in my view, is extremely important. And we dive into the data and we muck around in the data when other people aren't willing to do it. And I can tell you that the wall that I've bumped into once or twice, in one occasion caused me to choose a different path. But if I'm spending a lot of time in the data and I'm drawing conclusions from it, and not that I can't be flawed or, I might not have exactly the right answer, but I'll be the first one to tell you that. The trouble I've had is that there are folks who want a particular answer, and they're the folks who don't spend any time with the data. So that's kind of, I don't know, is that an ethical dilemma? It's a personal challenge for me, I can tell you that. And the insurance data is never so clear cut that you definitely know the answer. But you have processes and procedures that you go through and models that you use to help you judge what's a valid range. And sometimes you get pressure to come to a conclusion that's not supported by any of the work you've done. And that's a very real scenario that I suspect a lot of actuaries have faced over the years.
Absolutely. The Academy did a survey of actuaries 5 or so years ago, and pressure from principals was the biggest issue that our respondents said that they came across on a somewhat regular basis, and it was the biggest issue that they felt that they needed help and support from the profession as a whole in dealing with.
Yeah, I think that's a very important issue. But I want to be clear though. The vast majority of the principals that I've worked with, either my employer companies or clients, have been terrific. And it's always a challenge to deliver bad news, but the people who are objective are going to recognize and appreciate the work you're doing for them.
Sure, absolutely. Let's move on to a little bit about what you do for fun. You said you played golf, but you weren't going to make money from it.
I'll start by saying that at my last job, my staff labeled my office the place where fun went to die. So take that. We'll start there. But I've played a great deal of golf over the years. At one point, I was a fairly good golfer. Now I just have an occasional flash of brilliance and don't play nearly as often as I used to. But golf is still out there as something. In fact, I went to school on a caddy scholarship. Not on a golf scholarship, on a caddy scholarship. And I walked away from college with no debt, which was way more fortunate than a lot of kids these days.
Absolutely.
So that was really great. So golf, in a sense, led me to, in a really, really good direction. Whether I ever became a great golfer or not, I mean, obviously I didn't, but it's been very influential in my life because of where it helped me go from the standpoint of college. There's a really good chance, had that not happened, I might not have gone to college. So, a big plus for me has been golf in my life. I read a lot.
What do you like to read?
I read a lot of fiction and nothing of great substance. But I also read a lot of economics and finance books as well. In fact, I still take classes at the local university on occasion. Usually just a class a semester just to kind of keep my brain going. Mostly, again, economics and finance focused. I dabble with investing. It's kind of a hobby. I'm not beating the market, but I'm enjoying the dabble.
But you're having fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great. Lifelong learning, it's been a buzzword for the last decade or so, but a lot of people talk about it rather than actually doing it. So it's great to hear you taking classes.
Yeah. So, and I try to find something interesting to take, even if, I'm not pursuing a degree or anything. I just try to find a class each semester to take that's interesting. In a couple of weeks, I'm starting to take a class in the finance department on options. So we'll see how that plays out.
Sure.
Might be interesting.
Might be. I'm sure you'll make it interesting. There's been quite a bit of conversation about the future of the actuarial profession and the growth or otherwise of jobs in the profession. Do you have any thoughts about where the profession is heading? Will there be new areas that actuaries will be asked to lay their expertise on, or are we seeing a plateauing of the profession's utilization in finance and elsewhere?
So I think the right answer is probably going to be some of both. I mean, most trends do have some plateaus along the way. But if you look backwards for a minute in the profession, it has grown tremendously, as you said. And one of the things that has allowed for that growth is that the profession has attracted very bright people. And those bright people really drive the growth and where things go. I don't expect that to stop happening. I can't really predict exactly where things will go, but if you look at what's happened in the last 10 to 20 years, I mean, you can certainly see that the push toward, more sophisticated modeling, the use of bigger data sets, the use of more varied data sets has really been a driving factor for the profession, and continues to be, which also creates interesting ethical discussions around how far should you go. So I think all of those will be, will continue to play out. But, as far as what else could we do, I mean, I think you see actuaries continuing to move into executive positions. I think that's been more common in the life and health side than in the P&C side. But I think the breadth of our knowledge of the business places us in the right spots to be extremely impactful. And I have no reason to believe that won't continue.
Sure, that's a very positive note. Good to hear. The Academy is a co-sponsor of the Actuaries Climate Index. Have you been involved in that work at all?
Well, so involved is an interesting question. So I monitor that because I am extremely impressed by the people who are deep in that data and how they're moving that project along. It's an important piece of work. And it's obvious when you look at the historical data via the index that climate has changed and severe weather has accelerated. It's in the data, and the people who have done that work are extraordinarily dedicated. And I've had the benefit of sitting in and listening to the things that they're working on, and have had the pleasure of having to get to talk about it from time to time in different scenarios. But it's a very important agenda for the American Academy and the other actuarial organizations involved.
That's certainly maybe an area where there will be growth for the profession in the future.
Yeah, I would think so. One of the interesting pieces of work there is to tie the Actuaries Climate Index to, well, what's damage is that causing, and what's the risk that comes from that. And the Academy has put forth an initial paper on the Actuaries Climate Risk Index. Still in its infancy and still more work to do, but a good first step, and definitely worth keeping an eye on and pursuing further.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your career, your work at the Academy?
Well, I mean, I think the work at the Academy, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit already, but the things that have attracted me to be an actuary is that it's important work, just as the work that the Academy does is important. It's very diverse work. There's lots of different lines of business. There's many different types of analytic issues that we tackle, and that's been tremendous for me. If I had the chance to remake the decision, it'd be a lot easier because I know I want to go this direction. It's been a great ride.
It's been a great ride. As you continue the ride, it isn't over yet.
Yeah. So, like I said, I took a year off and decided I didn't like that, and happy to keep moving forward. And it's been a real pleasure working with the Academy to be able to do that and to delve into issues that I hadn't as a corporate actuary.
Rich, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for sharing your time and your knowledge with us. And I look forward to working with you for the next few years as well.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Rich Gibson, thank you very much. Rich is a Senior Casualty Fellow at the American Academy of Actuaries. And you've been listening to Actuary Voices, the podcast from the American Academy of Actuaries. Thank you very much for listening. And please subscribe using your favorite podcast platform.